Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. In this video, we're going to be going over the kind of top 5 tech cards you can put in your deck right now to overall increase your win rate against certain decks if you happen to draw this card and can utilize it at specific times. So before we get started, what is a tech card? A tech card is kind of like not a card that you're going to put in every single deck every time. Like if you think of a staple card, you think of like Fireball and Mage, Frostbolt and Mage, Swipe and Druid, Wrath and Druid. Those are kinds of cards that are always in the deck, but cards that are tech cards are kind of like one-ofs in the deck. You would only run one, maybe two if it's like really important and there's a lot of people playing a card that it's really good against. But for example, a tech card would be like Hungry Crab. When there was a lot of Murloc Paladins around, a lot of people were playing 2 Hungry Crabs in their deck, and meanwhile Hungry Crab is really bad against every other thing besides Murlocs. There's actually enough Murlocs being played that if you could put that card in your deck and use it against somebody who was playing Murlocs, you get a really big advantage over them, because not only would you destroy the Murloc, but your Hungry Crab would get a buff. So tech cards change depending on how the meta is, and currently there's a couple interesting tech cards that I didn't really see that we're gonna pop back up, but let's talk about them. So the top 5, these aren't in any order, these are just kind of 5 tech cards that you either need to watch out for and kind of, if you can play around it, do, or maybe fit them into your deck if you think they would be good against some of the opponents you're playing against. First one's gonna be Big Game Hunter. This card actually used to be found in almost every deck besides aggro, because he actually cost 3 mana, I believe, before the nerf, and then they actually increased this guy to 5 mana, which is a really hefty price to pay. But before a 3 mana 4/2, even if he didn't destroy a minion with 7 or more attack, which is why you'd use this card, he was still a 3 mana 4/2, which was, you know, reasonable attack and needs to be dealt with. But ever since they nerfed him back to 5 mana, which is really expensive, I mean, a 5 mana 4/2 fucking sucks. So you're basically only wanting to play this card to kill cards with 7 or more attack. And if you're playing against maybe against an aggro deck or something, this is not a card you're going to want to have. And a lot of decks right now, they don't run, like if you're thinking Kazakus Priest is very popular, and the only card in the deck that has 7 or more attack is Velen, and they play Velen when they're going to kill you. So you actually will never be able to BGH priests for the most part. Mages, you'll never be able to BGH them. So, because they just don't have any cards that have 7 or more attacks. So, this card was played a lot against Lich King when he came out. Lich King was very popular, which we'll get into another card that was very powerful against Lich King. But with the meta slowing down, more and more people are playing very greedy decks. There's a lot of Druid decks that you can find a lot of good targets for the Big Game Hunter. Same with Warlock, because a lot of people are running Mountain Giants again in like some form of handlock lists. There's some Control Paladins running around there. So there's a decent amount of Bone Mare, you know, buffing creatures to give them much, well over 7 attacks. So there's a lot of good targets for BGH now, and he's really only able to fit into the meta that we have right now is because things have slowed down quite a bit, because everybody wants to be playing the new Death Knight cards, and Death Knight cards cost a lot of mana. So this probably is not the most popular of the tech cards, but he's definitely one that there's a huge spike in Big Game Hunter being played since the release of this Frozen Throne expansion. So the next card that we're going to talk about is going to be actually a card that it pops up a lot. Like, it's basically a wave. Like, he sees a lot of play, he sees no play, he sees a lot of play. And normally when this guy sees play, it's because there's a lot of decks that revolve around throwing up on the board, which means playing a bunch of minions very quickly. And this guy can take full advantage of that. So let's say you're playing a very controlled deck, very slow deck, doesn't revolve around playing, you know, 4 minions by turn 3 or 4, and then you're playing against maybe a shaman, like an evolved shaman, right, where that's all they do is just keep playing 1 to 2 minions every single turn to hopefully get off a good bloodlust or an evolve. So cards like mind control tech against, you know, classes like shaman are very, very powerful, because you're actually able to take one of their minions, which you could utilize to your advantage based on what you take, right? There's also combinations with mind control tech and control decks. You can actually do well against control decks if you play Dirty Rat. So your opponent has 2 cards on the field or 3 cards on the field. They're playing around mind control tech, right? Well, at least they think they are. And then you drop Dirty Rat, and Dirty Rat pulls a card from your opponent's hand onto the battlefield. And then from there, you maybe play another Dirty Rat, or 1's enough, and then you can throw down the mind control tech. And then for 5 mana, you've been able to basically play 2 minions and then take one of your opponents. So this is a card being seen a lot in Druid due to the fact that they no longer have Innervate, so they need some form of early game either card. It's still a 3 mana 3/3. He's not just Big Game Hunter status in regards to his stat lines. But this gives them a chance, you know, if someone overextends really early on, you can pull, you know, a medium-sized minion. I mean, basically 50% of the time, you're going to get the average minion on the board from your opponent. And hopefully you don't get the worst one like me most of the time. But either way, he's just a good card to play right now if you're playing one of those slower decks, or you seem to find yourself losing against opponents having really big boards and you can't seem to deal with it. So he's just one of those cards that he wasn't seeing at all, and now he's been seeing. I've played against decks where people actually have 2 of these cards in their deck. So it kind of all depends what you're going for, but definitely play around the mind control tech if you seem to be overextending on board. The next one is going to be Stoking Geist, or Geist, or however you want to say it. I know there's going to be people yelling at me, Rob, you said the name wrong. It doesn't fucking matter. The point of the card is to talk about the card. So a 6 mana 4/6 battle cry, destroy all 1-cost spells in both hands and deck. So there's a couple things I want to mention about this card. Everybody thought the Jade Druid was going to, like, oh my god, we can kill Jade Idol. You know, this card is going to destroy Jade Druid. The thing is, Jade Druid most of the time can beat you before they go infinite. Like, a lot of the times the Jade Druid just wins before they've even shuffled the Jade Idol, or let's say they even shuffle it, but they haven't played the remainder of them in their deck, right? So as what it is okay against Jade Druid, it can stop them depending on the deck you're playing, but you shouldn't think because you play this one card in your deck that you're going to stop Jade Druid, because you still have to worry about all the other Jades they're going to play. You're only stopping Jade Idol from them going infinite. You're not stopping Aya, you're not stopping Jade Blossoms, Behemoths, Ultimate Infestation. You're not stopping all of the other package that's in Druid. You're just stopping one card from them never being able to fatigue. The reason I actually play this card is not for Jade, is for, there's a variety of different decks. You have Rogue that runs Hallucination. You also have the new Tempo Rogue that runs Cold Bloods. You know, getting Cold Blood, Leroy double Cold Blood feels pretty bad. So this stops Hallucinations, Cold Bloods. It also does really well against Priest, because Priest revolves around doing Anduin with Raza, making their hero power cost 0, so they can basically deal 2 damage to you every turn with their new DK ability. And then from here, you're able to kill all of the 1-drop spells in their deck, like Pint-Sized Potion, Power Word Shield, Potion of Madness, things like that. So it actually stops them from being able to combo as much with their new hero power, which basically allows you to have a couple more turns to live. Plus, he's a 4/6 body, which isn't the best, but it's pretty good against Priest. Anything with 4 attack against Priest is very annoying for them. So not that he's only good against Jade, but you also have to look at all the other classes he's good against. And right now, Priest is very popular, Rogue is very popular, and of course, Druid is pretty popular as well. So not a bad card, even though you're not specifically targeting Jade Druid. He's managed to make his way as a one of good, pretty decent tech card. I play him in a couple of my decks. The next one is actually going to be a common card that's been around for a little bit now, and didn't really see play when Ironbeak Owl was a thing, and that was a while ago, guys. They nerfed Ironbeak Owl for some reason to the point where it's like really hard to play a 3-mana 2/1. So the next best thing for Silence is to run Spellbreaker, which is a 4-mana 4/3. So his stats are pretty good, right? Like you're getting a decent attack out of it. Its HP is not the best, but you're really playing this card because of the Silence ability. And while Paladin was really popular with cards like Blessings of King and Spike Ridge Steed, Paladin has actually, there's been a lot less of it on ladder due to the Murloc nerf with the War Leader in their most recent patch update. So Spellbreaker is kind of like, Silence is still good, but I don't think it's as powerful as it was when Murloc Paladin was very prominent, because Murloc Paladin was said to be fairly decent against Jade Druid, which was the most popular deck. But you can still get great targets. You know, in Druid, you have Aya Blackpaw, which is a really great target for Silence. You can use this on taunt creatures. You can use this on buffed minions. So there's a lot of different uses for this card. Death Rattle. And then even if you can't seem to get like a lot of use out of him, he's still a Silence, and he's still a 4/3. Or he's not still a Silence. Of course he's a Silence, but he's a still 4 mana 4/3. It's not like, again, the big game hunter, you're paying 5 mana for a 4/2. I mean, that's just awful. That's just awful. So this guy's actually been seeing play 1 or 2 in the deck, most of the time 1. I play one of these in my handlock list just to make sure I have some Silence in there. So the last card that we're going to talk about that saw an upsurge in play, it was the Black Knight. And the main reason that this guy saw a lot of play was 2 things. Spellbreaker also works on Bone Mare guys, but that's what reminded me with the Black Knight. Black Knight, Bone Mare gives a target +4/+4 and taunt. Lich King. exceedingly popular. Everybody and their mom wants to play Lich King, or has played Lich King, or has played Lich King and now no longer plays Lich King because of the Black Knight, or the fact that they realize that Lich King's really not that great. So there are some decks that Lich King does fit into, but that's not the point. The point is the Black Knight, very effective against, you know, one of the two most popular cards. Bone Marrow it wasn't played a lot the first couple days, but once people started playing with Bone Marrow, they're like, wow, I want to put this in my Dragon Priest. I want to put this into Evolve Shaman. I want to put this into, you know, Taunt Druid. I'll put him into some of my Jade Druids, Aggro Druid. The card Paladin. So there's the Bone Marrow just spiked in popularity. Because of that, Taunt became really popular, because whenever taunts are really popular, the Black Knight is popular, because he just basically, for 6 mana, you kill a taunt and you still get a 4/5 body on board, which is absolutely fantastic. So if this guy kills a taunt, you're chilling. And if he doesn't kill a taunt, he's not the best in stats, but he's still not on the level of how shitty BGH is, which is Big Game Hunter. So, the Black Knight, if you don't have him, I wouldn't stress that you need him, because he's a legendary and he's quite expensive. But he's one of the cards that come from the classic set, or should I say the basic set, so he's never going to rotate out. So if you happen to find a little wiggle room to either you already have him and you're thinking about disenchanting him, I don't recommend doing that, because basically, you know, again, like the wave, he becomes really popular, he doesn't, he comes back, he becomes popular. So I'd hate to see you disenchant him and need him later. And on top of that, he's just a great tech card. Even if taunts aren't super popular, people won't play around him, and you can still get some cheesy kills on taunts. So with that, hopefully you've enjoyed our kind of top 5 tech card video right now. When the meta changes, or when a new set comes out, I'll refresh this video with what I think are kind of the up and comings, or what are the most popular tech cards at the moment, so you guys can again put them in your deck and or play around them, so you know what's kind of out there. So with that, thanks for watching, and so with that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode. Of course, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.